We are bringing in the former Supreme Allied Commander of NATO, General Wesley Clark. General, I particularly appreciate your insight into all of this tonight. Thanks for making the time.
Thank you, Natasha.
General, why do you suspect President Biden is reversing course on this and now allowing Ukraine to use these powerful long-range American missiles inside Russia?
Well, I think he's reversing course because first, the North Koreans have come in on the ground, and they've also brought not just the troops, but also apparently some long-range artillery. So this is a sort of a counter-escalation. And secondly, because the Ukrainian situation on the ground is getting increasingly dire. We haven't given them all of the ammunition, all the support that they've asked for, not even all that's been promised. Much of it never arrives. Some of it arrives inoperative, not just from us, but from our other allies and friends who are nominally giving them this equipment. So they're in desperate straits, and these ATACMs might provide some limited assistance.
And you mentioned North Korea's involvement. Meanwhile, we know Russia has deployed tens of thousands of troops at this point, I believe as many as 50,000, to Kursk, which is currently under Ukrainian control. Do you believe the goal here is to allow Ukraine to use these weapons in Kursk to help them hold on to that region as long as possible?
I think the weapons could be used to support the presence of the Ukrainian forces in the Kursk salient, but I don't believe that's the only purpose that they can be used for. And it shouldn't be the only purpose they should be used for. They should be able to range wherever they can strike logistics targets, factories, concentrations of troops, other targets that are suitable. And the sooner, the better. The more mass they can bring to the attacks, the better.
The sooner, the better. I hear that. And Putin, meanwhile, has warned about a red line, has warned Western countries against giving Ukraine long-range missiles, saying that NATO risks war if they cross this red line. Do you think that using these missiles would lead to an escalation in the war?
I think the red line term is the way that Putin stalemates Western support to Ukraine. And he's used these notions, these threats continuously. We have interpreted it as red lines. If you listen to what the White House says, they're constantly anguishing over what the red lines might be. And the result is we penny parceled our assistance out. We've come too little with not enough. We've given the Russians every advantage to take the initiative away from the Ukrainians. And Natasha, you just have to appreciate the human toll of this. There are hundreds of thousands of wounded Ukrainians. More than 50,000 Ukrainians are awaiting some kind of prosthesis. The average Ukrainian has to go through 3 amputations. I mean, we're imposing tremendous suffering on the Ukrainians, and a lot of that suffering is caused by the fact that from the beginning we've withheld military assistance, training, and support that they could have used. They could have absorbed it and done a much better job of holding the line against the Russians.
I appreciate that perspective. In your mind, what are the implications for Trump's plans to negotiate a deal to end the war with this development?
I think it gives the Ukrainians a little bit greater bargaining leverage. If they hold on to the Kursk salient, that's something they've got that can offset Russian claims. But just think about how hard this is going to be, Natasha, because it's not just about ending the fighting. There have been 50 to 150,000 children abducted from Donbass that have been placed with Russian parents that are being robbed of their identity, punished if they use their own language, and so forth. Some of them are in institutions. Those children need to be brought back home. And all of those civilians who've been filtered out by Russia in this horrendous ethnic cleansing, they all need to be accounted for. Russia is guilty of war crimes. So they started this war. It's not just a matter of saying, hey, let's just hold off here and stop the shooting. That's not what's going to resolve this. This is a much deeper problem that President Trump's got to deal with. Any leverage Ukraine has at this point is going to be important.
As the former Supreme Allied Commander of NATO, what are your concerns about the future of the United States' relationship with NATO over the next 4 years? And what are the stakes in a way that the average American can understand?
I think if you want to manage China and prevent war in the Pacific, you've got to have a strong, united Europe in support of the United States so that non-military measures can be taken to restrain China.
Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find News Nation on your screen. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.